All right, guys. So this is the training, the AI and Amazon FBA, the good, the bad, and how to use it without getting burned training that I want to go over with you. So again, make sure to pay attention, ask as many questions as you want. Go ahead and post those questions in the Q&A only section. The chat will be more for kind of responding to what I'm asking you as we go through. But yeah, please ask any questions over in the Q&A only section, and we'll answer those towards the end here. All right, so let me ask you guys a question first. How often are you using AI for your Amazon business, or maybe even just in general? Like, are you using it sometimes, never, weekly, daily, more than once a day? Like, type in the chat, like, you know, how often are you using AI for your business or just in general to help your life and in any business? Maybe you have a job, maybe you're using AI for that, or maybe you're a student, you're using AI for that. Let me know how often you are using AI in the chat there. I know some of us are probably using it on a daily basis to write an email or to, you know, write a complaint or, you know, help you kind of structure something that you might say. Renee says daily. Yvonne says a lot every day. So that's good. Maybe you're finding that, you know, it's helpful in just, you know, writing your thoughts out, right? Because you can type in a little prompt and it'll kind of spit out a longer version of that. And after a while, it tailors it to your voice and to kind of how you've responded or corrected things in the past, right? So a lot of people are using it pretty much every day at this point. And visitor says daily, every day, all that stuff. So great. So let's keep going. I kind of want to know if you are using it for an Amazon business, or even if you're not, what are you using it for mainly? For an Amazon business, you might be using it for such things as product research, writing the copy for your listing. So the bullet points, your title, your product description, maybe your keywords, your images, your ads, you know, SOPs, which is, you know, standard operating procedures or training manuals, that kind of stuff. So if you're using it for that kind of stuff, it works pretty good. Obviously, if you kind of give it some ideas of what to do, then it prints out like, you know, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. So let me know what you're using it for. Renee says using it for listings. Great. That's a good place to start. And then, you know, maybe, you know, people who are not on Amazon yet. So one person said not starting with Amazon yet. Maybe you're using it for emails or, you know, marketing copy or training, you know, like helping people in your business learn how to do something better. Here, you don't know how to do it. Here, check out this. It says it right here, steps 1 through 10. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we use it for on Amazon as well. And so much more, right? So there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's no limit what you can use AI for, but these are kind of the main ones, these kind of 6 or 7 on the screen here. And Yvonne says mainly for wholesaler search. So yeah, that can help too. Obviously finding wholesalers, you know, to purchase products from and then sell them. One person says just written a guide without using AI. Yeah, it takes time. I mean, I do almost all my SOPs and step-by-step guides myself. But sometimes I'll just say, hey, what are kind of the main steps? I'll ask AI, what are the main steps? So I don't forget, like, and then maybe I'll just, you know, copy and paste that and then erase most of what it says and then kind of fill in the details. But it does help with getting those kinds of overviews and the kind of, you know, the brackets or the outlines of the topics. It does a really good job of that. All right. So I actually have a client that uses AI for everything, including therapy. And if I let her run her business with AI, she would have probably been ruined by now. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because she is a pretty smart lady. I don't think she would use AI to dangerously hurt her business, but she may have, because she's asked me questions where she said, hey, should I use this for that? And this, and is this was written by AI, should I use that? And most of the time I have to tell her no, because it's not as good as it should be, or it's just flat wrong. So you have to be careful when you use AI that you're not just using it and trusting it completely, right? Like, it's not going to give you the complete most accurate information all the time. It's because AI is not the best version of anything. It's actually engineered to accumulate and get the mean or the generic version of everything, right? It's trying to get all the information out there about this. And it could be from things that are all over the place, you know, non-factual sites, you know, totally opinion sites. And it's just kind of meshing all that information together and saying, here's based on, you know, all the information, what it spits back, right? But there are definitely some ways that you can use AI in your business and use it well. So what are we going to cover today? Well, the good, where AI creates leverage for you in your business. That's the good, right? The bad, how AI quietly causes sellers to lose money. You definitely don't want that to happen. And the fix, make AI safe and profitable. And then we're also going to go over an AI listing roast. We're actually going to look to see if AI comes up with a good listing and maybe kind of tweak it a little bit. We're not going to spend too much time on that, but I will show you kind of how it might come up with something that just isn't quite right. And then we'll talk about your action plan on what to do next. Sound good to everybody? Kind of going over those 5 steps there: the good, the bad, the fix, the interactive AI listing roast, and your action plan. That sounds good for everybody. Go ahead and type yes in the chat box and we will keep going. Just going to check here real quick. All right, we got chat. All right. Renee says yes. Let's keep going. All right, I'm going to give you a very brief intro to who I am, just so you know who the heck is giving you advice. So that way I'm not a complete stranger to you. This is me. I started selling on Amazon in 2013 at Amazon FBA. So it's been a while. It's been 13 years almost now, about 3 months away from 13 years. I have sold over $12 million in sales between my own brands and brands that I ran for others. And this is something that I continue to do today. Still keep going. I have created 3 separate 7-figure Amazon training programs, meaning that the 3 training programs have actually all eclipsed $1 million in revenue and sales, right? So they're 3 7-figure Amazon training programs. I have also worked with thousands of sellers to improve their businesses over the years. I have been self-employed since 2015, living free of a daily commute or soul-sucking job, which I assume is most people's, kind of goal in life, that they don't have to go out and, drive around. Like, my least favorite thing in the world is traffic. Like, I get so angry in traffic, and there's no real reason why. I live in Las Vegas. The traffic here is not even that bad, but sitting still on a freeway drives me berserk. So the fact that I don't have to drive anywhere anymore makes my life a lot less stressful. Just that one thing alone, less stressful. This is also me. I do not pretend to have millions of dollars in the bank. I work in my businesses every day. I drive a Toyota, not a Lamborghini. Actually, we have 2 Toyota Corollas, and I'm perfectly fine with them. Been driving them for like 10 years. They've been paid off and don't have any bills on them. I don't find value in overhyping things or using fear to get people to work with me. My goal is to always just tell you things as they are and not make you worried and, make you have to buy things that you don't need. These are things that will help you in your search for, potentially doing the thing that I've done, which is go work for yourself and not have to work in a job. And I've been doing that for 11 years now. I work hard with my clients to help them succeed in their business as well. So not only do I work in my business every day, I work in their businesses every day and work with them every single day. These are just a handful of clients I have worked with in the past, and some of them I still continue to work with. So this is Tony. He said, after 5 years in the business, I finally hit the $100,000 per month club today. Thank you. Without your training, I don't think I'd be posting these 30-day numbers. Time to crack open a bottle of the bubbly. And this is Joe. She says, okay, this just got real. 10x the sales in USA, 14x in the UK. This is Heather. She said, the first thing that we noticed was that in the first 5 months, we saw a double increase in our sales. So that was, while working with her in the first 5 months, they doubled their sales, right? And from there, her and her sisters, who were their partners, made a target that they wanted to hit $200,000 in a 30-day period. And at the time, they were at $132,000. So they needed $68,000. They were doing well, but we wanted to be better. Within 2 months after that, of strategic planning and growth, they not only hit the $200,000, but they actually hit the $300,000 in a 30-day period. So they were doing quite well. And that business was really good. This is Frank. He said, whoop, we hit our 50,000 goal, 50,000K goal, or 50,000 goal, whatever, 50K goal a couple of weeks ago. But today we hit our super duper, wouldn't it be nice if goal, which was $70,000 in 30 days, which is a nice return. I want to go ahead and give you the mandatory disclaimer that any results shared are not guaranteed or even typical, and I can't guarantee that you will ever make money on Amazon, as I don't know what actions you'll take, if any. And you could completely ignore all the advice that I give you and then go out and, like I said, just use AI and potentially ruin your business. So I'm not going to say that it's typical, but most of the people I work with, when we work together, they get great results, positive results for sure. My goal for this training is to show you actionable ways to use artificial intelligence to your advantage in your Amazon business without giving it too much credence and hurting your results. So, like I said, use it, but don't trust it completely, right? Like, it's not something that's going to work for you every single time if you don't kind of have safeguards in place. I want to be transparent. I am going to offer you a chance to work with me at the end of this training. I just want you to know that right up front. But even if we don't work together, you are going to be able to use everything that you learn here today to help yourself right now. Not even just in Amazon, but maybe you can use these, for whatever else that you're kind of working on. And again, there is no obligation to work together. So let's get to the training, shall we? Let's talk about the first question you should be asking yourself first, right? Is basically, what does it even mean to sell on Amazon and how can it be done? And I apologize if you guys are, some of you are already selling on Amazon. I want to go through this pretty quickly, just so anybody who's not selling on Amazon kind of understands the scope and the kind of, direction of what I'm talking about, which is FBA private label selling or creating your own brand for Amazon. So we'll go over this pretty quickly, but ideally you'll understand it. And if you're already doing it, you'll have a better grasp on it. So there are actually several ways to sell on Amazon. And I'm not going to go over all of them. I'll just kind of explain what I do. The most profitable, most scalable way to sell on Amazon in any way that I've ever seen is via Amazon's FBA program. And let me quickly explain the Amazon FBA ecosystem for brands. So what is Amazon FBA? It simply stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. You send your goods to Amazon, right? So whatever you're trying to sell, you send it to Amazon, and they have fulfillment centers. When a customer buys your product on Amazon's site, Amazon basically grabs it off the shelf, ships it, and handles almost all the customer service. You do very little once the inventory is actually at Amazon. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean, my products? I'm saying that you will actually create your own brand of products and sell them. So it's not you're just reselling or wholesaling something else. You don't just buy a bunch of Tide from the store and then resell it on Amazon. I'm actually talking about, in that example, you'd have your own brand of laundry detergent or, whatever. I'm not going to say you sell laundry detergent because I don't sell that myself, but that's just an example, right? You'd have, Renee's laundry detergent instead of Tide. So that would be what it means to have your own brand of products. This is what is known as private label selling on FBA. So it's a private label. It's your label. It's not somebody else's label. Why do I recommend selling using your own brand? Well, first of all, you control profit margins, unlike drop shipping or wholesaling, which only allows you to sell at the lowest prices. And that's because other people will be selling on those same listings. And the only way you can get the sale is if pretty much you have the lowest price. Then it'll show up for the buy box and then you get the sale. That basically is just a race to the bottom for rock bottom prices, right? Then the other reason that you would have, why you should create a brand is you leverage the existing market. So people like Tide and whoever you're competing against, and Amazon's platform, which puts all of you on the same page, you get put right next to the top brands if you know what you're doing. So all you got to do is sell a product that you can get to, page one using ads or, just really good product listings, and you'll actually get shown up right next to these top sellers. And you got to pay a fraction of the marketing that big brands do to get awareness. So maybe, that Tide Pod thing that came out several years ago, that was something that Tide probably had to spend millions of dollars to launch because no one knew what a Tide Pod was. They didn't know that, little gel packs could come like that, and then you could use it for your laundry. But if you sold, your own version of that, you don't have to spend the millions of dollars in marketing because now people know what Tide Pods are. All you would have to then do is go on Amazon, sell Renee's Tide Pods version, right? Or Renee's detergent pods or whatever. And you could start listing right next to Tide on those pages. Again, I'm not saying to sell laundry detergent. This is just a hypothetical example. It's the first thing that always comes to mind for some reason. And basically you cut out the middleman of retail stores to give a great value product to buyers. So every retail store that ever buys a product from a big brand buys it at a really low price, and then they also mark it up. So it's been marked up to the store, the retail store, Walmart, Target, whoever, and then it's going to be marked up again. So you're basically paying twice, a double markup. Whereas on Amazon, you can sell direct to the customer without going to a store, and you don't have to pay that double markup because you're getting it direct from a supplier and then selling it directly to the customer on Amazon. So that's how you would actually be able to give a great value product and potentially even sell it less than some of these big brands. You're also able, again, like I just said, to sell directly to customers. So that basically means that you don't have to keep marking things up. But the biggest reason you have to create a brand, or why I think you should create a brand in general, is it's a sellable asset with a value that is not limited. So the products might get a certain amount of sales per day and get you a certain amount of profit per month. But if you stack, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20 products together in a brand, that value just becomes more, greater and greater. And then you can actually turn around and sell that, either to a, big brand competitor or, a retail store or just another person who wants to buy that business for who knows how much money. And we have seen 7-figure and 8-figure and even close to, and I think even 9-figure businesses being sold on Amazon. So there's been some, I know for one, it was a dog supplement, like a pet supplement company. They sold for like $70 million after like 2 years or 3 years, something like that. I think those hero pimple patches sold for like $500 million or something to Amazon. So like there have been these examples of private label brands growing with very little, very few SKUs, and then just having exponential growth and then selling for a big, big payday. So that's why I say the value is not limited. If you create this type of brand that just kind of explodes, or, even just, I'm not saying you have to sell for 500 million or 70 million. My products, I don't think my brand's ever going to sell for that. But, if you sell for $1, $2, $3, $4 million, that's a huge payday, right? Like most people would be happy to sell something that's doing that well. So that's what I'm talking about. You can scale it and sell it at an unlimited asset value. All right. Now, I have coached, and just to be fully transparent, I have coached several sellers who have sold their business for over $1 million, which is one of the biggest, rewards for me, seeing people be able to do that, creating true life freedom. When they start saying, I got, this amount of money for my business that I started with $6,000 2 years ago, I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome. Like you found something that just worked so well that you were able to sell it for, the massive return on investment. So I get pretty excited about that kind of stuff. And if you want to build a business that allows you to create a sellable asset, then you need to build your own brand. That's why I bring it up. There are 6 major steps to selling your own brand of products on Amazon FBA, and I'll quickly go over those real fast. So step 1 is basically create your own brand around your passion. You can see some examples there: Wendy's, Nestle, Pepsi, GE, Nike, Baskin-Robbins. Obviously, you don't have that kind of name recognition or logo recognition yet, but obviously you can start from, the ground up, right? Have your own authoritative brand. Then you start choosing products to sell based on research, and we'll talk a little bit about that research today. Step 3, you find a supplier using Alibaba or, sourcing agent or some other way that you can find, suppliers for your products. Then you send your goods to Amazon warehouses, and basically you set up your product listing page and your marketing and all that stuff, and then you're ready to launch and market the product. Then you just simply repeat steps 2 through 6 over and over and over like a flywheel, and you basically just have a repeatable process. As long as they keep working and the business is funding itself, you could do that, ad infinitum, right? So, or ad infinitum, whatever the phrase is in Latin there. But yeah, you would basically be doing steps 2 through 6 ongoing, right? That's the FBA cycle overview. And there are definitely a lot of other little things that you have to understand and do in that, 6 or 7 step process there. But you'll start to kind of get them as you go. It's not like, hey, day 1, you have to know how to source a product from China, but you have to understand that that is part of the process. Again, those are the 6 major steps. And you might even start to see how you can use AI to help you shortcut some of those processes already. Let me first make sure you understand one all important rule. And I think I've kind of already mentioned this, but AI cannot run your business for you. Remember that. Take a snapshot of that, get a, mental tattoo of that on your brain. AI can't run your business for you. It can't run your life for you. It can't run your job for you. It can't run your household for you. You have to have some sort of safeguards and understanding and common sense. AI doesn't have common sense, right? You do. Use it to your advantage. Right now, AI is dependent on the averages of information, not the best examples. So it's not taking the smartest people's advice. It's taking all of the advice, right? So let's talk about where we are going to get the good, where AI creates leverage in your business right now. The best advantage of AI right now is speed of data collection. It can get information processed very, very quickly, right? That's the best advantage of AI right now. It used to take us months to do product research, and I truly mean that. It used to take us months to do product research for Amazon. Now it can be done in a couple of days or even a couple of hours or potentially even minutes, depending on how many times you're looking at stuff and how many things you've kind of done before, but it can be much faster. And while it may not be able to make sense of the data on its own as well as you, it can collect the information almost instantly. So the next best advantage of AI right now is data analysis and summation, which is also great. So you can get the data and a summary of what it means almost instantly, but it isn't necessarily the best or even fact-based, right? So that's where you kind of have to have some safeguards. So let's talk about AI, speed plus brainstorming plus first drafts, right? So you got your research acceleration. It's not replacing full research. It's just accelerating your research. You can get data much faster. And we'll talk about a little bit of this, and I'll show you some examples here in a minute. You can also find innovation and opportunities, which is great. Like, maybe you don't know much about the product that you're kind of researching. AI can pull customer reviews and just give you instant information based on customer feedback and say, here's the opportunities to make it better that potentially could get you more sales. It can also do, like I think it was Renee said, write your copywriting, your listings, at least the drafts of it, right? You can use that to create the drafts. You also get creative asset assistants helping you with image creation. I wouldn't necessarily use it for the images, but at least storyboarding your images so you can pass it off to a graphic designer. They know exactly what to do, what images to create, and kind of step-by-step, plot it out, right? It also can be used for keyword discovery and help you create step-by-step instructions to delegate everyday tasks. That's something that I've done for years. I recommend if you're in a business or if you're even in a job, anything that you do on a daily basis, write a step-by-step procedure for it, pass it off to somebody else, and then you never have to do it again. You save that 10 minutes every single day for the rest of your life. It's literally the greatest thing that can be done for you as a person, as an employee or as an owner, a business owner. You pass that off to somebody else, you never have to do it again. All right, so let's talk about product and niche research with AMZScout's tools. This is actually part of their Chrome browser extension, which I'm going to hop over here. I'm share my screen real quick. I believe that's where we're at here. Yep. We're looking at garden shovels on Amazon. This is just again, a random product. I'm not saying you should go out and sell garden shovels, but you can see on here, it says Pro AI. It's a 9, great niche. Well, let's like analyze it actually. So I've actually pulled this up because I wanted to, see what the, sales are, kind of what the, top sellers are doing. And I do have a way to actually analyze this with a spreadsheet that I call the Launchalyzer that helps you understand if you have enough money in your budget to launch this product. So I'll kind of explain that as well. We'll kind of go through that. But once we get through this, let's look at first, the thing I wanted to show you was the AI Power Bot that kind of helps you understand some niche analysis and all that stuff. And it takes a few minutes. So I actually preloaded it up over on the second tab. So just right off the bat, it says these 3 things. It says the profit is high. The desired prices are inside the 15 to 40 range. It's easier to make profits if prices are not low, or sell in large quantities if prices are not high. So it's saying, great. Demand is great. Very high sales. You can sell a lot, especially if you are on the first page. It does say you'll need to sell a lot to profit. Pay close attention to FBA fees, shipping, because it has maybe low margins. It also says the niche is quite old. You can be sure that the product has been on demand for a while, but there are some old sellers who will compete with you. That's great advice, meaning there are people that have stayed there for a long time. It might be hard to get past them. That's kind of a hard thing to quantify, but I actually do have a spreadsheet that will show you how to quantify that. What does that mean? How much does it cost? What do you mean it's old? Like how much am I going to have to pay to get in there? And then it says competition is medium. They have low quality listings, so you can easily create a better listing of the product. There's few AMZ sellers. That means it's sold by Amazon. I'm not too worried about that. That's called a vendor. Actually, I think it's better if there's vendors in it because like they're usually pretty terrible. But this, for this tool, it says, there's few of them, so you don't have to compete against Amazon for sales. It says there's a high average rating, so you can try and make a product with better quality. Obviously, if you can make it better, make it better. If it's just maybe you have a better price, coming at a better price with the same type of product. You need some reviews to get sales, obviously, because there's many reviews. So it's saying like, thumbs down, high. It's got a high average rating and there's a lot of reviews. So it's going to take you a little bit of time to, get past that or create something better. That's great analysis, right? Then it says, here's your AI niche analysis. And all I had to do is basically wait for it to come up. It's got the AI niche analysis, AI product insights, and AI product improvement. So basically it's saying the product's in demand. Basically, it's summing up there what this is all saying. It's got some variations of color, different kinds, sales velocity. You can see basically all the stuff. It'll even tell you seasonality. Sales peak during spring and summer months correlating with gardening season. If you didn't even have common sense, AI is telling you that. It's common sense. You should know that garden shovels probably peak in spring and summer. But if not, it's telling you that, right? So, March through July, August, somewhere in there, that's when they're going to kind of peak. The insight is aligning inventory and marketing strategies with gardening season can maximize sales, obviously. You'll see competition analysis, unique brands. Here's kind of the top 5 brands. Seller types, predominantly FBA sellers with limited FBM, meaning they FBM is when you sell it yourself, basically from a warehouse or your house or garage or whatever. But that's fulfilled by merchant, meaning you ship it from your spot, wherever you have your inventory, directly to the customer. But most of the time, it's FBA sellers. So that's good to know. Key competitors are Fiskars and Craft 911. Most products have 1 to 4 sellers, indicating moderate competition. Majority of top sellers are based in the US and China. And it just goes on, right? Like pricing strategies, price range is between $6 to $62. Obviously, those are different products, different types of Chinese sellers will sell lower. And then there might be, bigger versions of a garden shovel. It's not like the hand shovels. It's maybe a bigger version of something. But the concentration here is $10 to $30. Again, seasonality range usually between $20 to $30, and so on and so forth. It's giving you common keywords, garden tools, heavy-duty gardening, shovel, trowel. Like these are some of the most commonly used words in the titles and in the product bullet points and stuff like that. Incorporate these high-density keywords in the product title descriptions will improve searchability. All right, good to know. So it's kind of giving you all this information right up front, right? Actionable insights. Enhance the listings, utilize A+ content, leverage seasonal trends, target keywords, focus on reviews, and competitive pricing. Great. Now that I have that, let's go look at the AI product insights. So it's saying strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. These are based on the most popular product, which is this one, which I think is the Fiskars one, or maybe it's the Craft 911 one, which one of the two. It says strong brand reputation. Yeah, Fiskars being a well-known brand. 4.7, significant number of reviews, 14,000, highest made sales, 8,000, and substantial revenue, 71,000 per month. Bestseller rank of 359, meaning it's close to 1. I mean, 359 is not 1, but that's out of like millions of products. So 359 is very close to 1 in that kind of sense. It has durable and functional design, catering to gardening enthusiasts. Weaknesses: it's relatively high FBA fees, 476, relatively high. Sold by multiple sellers. Basically, that brand does not have their own FBA presence, and they're not selling it themselves on Amazon. They have other people selling it. They might not even know that their product's on Amazon. I'm sure they do by now because it sells tons on Amazon, but potentially they're not selling it themselves. So they are probably wasting their own, losing out on their own brand from sales on Amazon. Opportunities: expansion of product line to include additional gardening tools or complementary items. Leverage position, positive reviews and high ratings. Explore eco-friendly materials appealing to environmentally conscious buyers. Threats: intense competition in the gardening tools market, I should say. Potential fluctuation in market material costs affecting net margins, and changes in consumer preference. So it's giving you a SWOT analysis. That's what it's called: strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. SWOT analysis, telling you all the things that you kind of need to pay attention to and be aware of up front. And then you have this AI product improvement. It's saying this is based on analyzing the most popular product. And it says, tip for improvement: introduce a multi-pack option. Now, I'm not saying if that's necessarily the best idea, but it says rationale: offering a multi-pack option can cater to garden enthusiasts who frequently need multiple hand shovels or trowels or wish to purchase them as gifts. This could increase bulk purchases and cater to customers looking for value deals. Multi-packs can also target professional gardeners or institutions that maintain parks and public spaces. Now, again, you can actually create a multi-pack on Amazon without bundling two of them together or more. You can create, promotions that, encourage people to buy multiple ones, give them a discount. You can do business pricing. You can do all sorts of stuff. You don't actually need to create a multi-pack option. That's why you need these kind of like common sense and kind of experience to safeguard yourself from doing this. Because if you create a multi-pack, you might be outpricing yourself, and maybe people only want one most of the time. So you would be outpricing the market and get very few sales comparatively. So don't necessarily just take the advice, but it could be a good idea to think about how can you get more than one sale. And what I just said about creating promotions, creating business pricing, those would actually, potentially even creating a virtual bundle with another product, those things can help. But yeah, so you can use this type of AI analysis before you ever even sell this thing to get a good idea about what the market is already doing on Amazon, right? So that helps you understand right up front that this product may be competitive, but there may be some things that you can look at to try to improve upon. When I actually did this first, the product improvement tip was not multi-pack option. It was to create a comfortable ergonomic handle, which was funny because now it's switched its own tip. But that's actually something that you could also think about. Create an ergonomic handle, create a better material, a better tip, or instead of using stainless steel, maybe you use some sort of different material. I'm not saying titanium, but something like slightly better than steel. that is stronger, that could dig through dirt easier, right? So these are the things that you would use, as you're going through this to improve the product. Obviously, now that you've gone through and saw that, like I said, just because the analysis is good doesn't mean it's right for you. And how do we actually know that? Well, that's what I want to show you with this Launchalyzer product opportunity demonstration. This is actually going to show you whether or not you can afford this product. What I typically tell people is, you might need in your first 3 to 5, 6 months, somewhere in there. I just say 3 because that's kind of like a typical launch in my brain. You might need about $10,000 to kind of safely order the product, market the product, and then kind of maybe even reorder the product because you might start selling it well enough. So these are the things that I say, like, the first couple $1,000 is going to be your first product, inventory, maybe 1,000 or 1,500. And then you're probably going to reorder the exact same amount or slightly more. So you're going to need that kind of money before, you run out of inventory and stuff like that. So you're going to need it kind of upfront, or at least in the first 3 months. So $10,000 is kind of what I suggest as being your typical budget. You can start with less. You can obviously shoot for higher. But if kind of you just keep that kind of mean right there of $10,000 and keep that as an idea, all right, $10,000 is maybe how much this product's going to cost. Let's look at if it's actually a good investment for you, this garden shovel, right? So the garden shovel, when we actually pull this information, the Chrome browser extension here, and again, I just use it. It's attached to the Chrome browser. So when I go to Amazon, I push this little button. It brings up this whole sales analysis chart, and I'm going to hit this export here. So this is the export, and I think I actually already did this, but I'll do it again just so you can see it. Pull this over here. All right, desktop. There we go. And we'll just open this up. So I'll pull this off to the side for a second, but what this is going to do is it's going to show me kind of my niche, right? Like this whole niche is kind of sales volume and all that stuff. The first thing I want to do is find out who's the top seller. So you can see right here, it says parent ASIN estimated sales. You don't have to worry about what a parent ASIN right now is, but basically that's just, if they have multiple colors or options, it's just saying this whole listing, like Fiskars might have 10 different versions of that, hand shovel, their garden trowel on that listing. But within those 10, they all equal up to 8,000 sales per month. So that's the top seller right here. And you can see this one is a sponsored ad, sponsored, like all these with SP are sponsored. We're actually going to remove them from being, because they're duplicates. We don't have to worry about it right now. But first thing we're going to do is look, is this the top seller? Yes, 8,000. There's a couple 2,700, 2,500, but basically 8,000 is the top one. So it's 8,000 divided by, 30, because that's, per how many days are in a month. Let's pull that up and find out. So we do 8,037 divided by 30. It's about 267 sales per day. That's a lot of sales, right? So I'm going to put that in here. And actually, that's almost exactly when I did this about 3 days ago. That was almost the exact number that came up. So 266. Now, I already did this, but I just want to show you how this works. Basically, when you pull up this spreadsheet, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you don't have any repeats. And the easiest way to tell that is by the brand and by the sales volume. So you can see, where's that? So here's the ASIN sales right here, number S, or column S. You can see this one's got 8037 and 8037. That's exactly the same. So I already told you that the first 5 were actually ads anyway. So what we're going to do with the first 5 is we're going to just delete the information because they're ads. They're not organically at number 1. So they're not technically, they could have been anything. They could have been ones that had 10 sales a day or 1 sale for the whole month. Ads are just kind of temporary, right? Because they'll pop up and then change all day long. But the organic or non-searched or non-advertised position will be there pretty stably. And it's usually based on sales. So like this one that's at 0, we're not going to count that one because it's probably not normally supposed to be there. And maybe this one at 30. And only reason I'm doing this is because they're most likely are ads, and I'm just doing this for expedience. But basically what I'll do is, again, remove the 0 one, but I'm going to pull down the top 15 competitors here. And yeah, we'll get to 15 here. And this 5 one's probably not supposed to be there either. But it's saying the average is 2,400 or 2,044. So basically, if we divide 2,044 divided by 30, that's actually going to be at 68 sales a day. So the top 15 competitors' sales per day on average is 68. Why do we need to know that? Well, because those are the competitors that we're actually going to compete against. They're the ones that we have to get past in order to get sales, in order to appear, and in order to basically make some money. Now, what's the direct competitor price? So the top competitor, which is the Fiskars, and probably the best version of this product, is $894. It says it right here, $894, and you can actually close this thing and look for yourself if you want. Fiskars, $894. All right. So then we go over here, we put $894. Estimated cost of goods. Now that's where we would actually go into Alibaba, and we would look up garden shovel or hand trowel or whatever you want to call it. Go away. Garden shovel. And then we can start getting some ideas about how much this actually costs. And you can even see there Alibaba is using AI in their search bar now. So we're looking at products kind of in this, not these ones, but maybe we'll just look up garden. Oh, here we go. So here's like an example right here. Wow. This one right here is a pretty typical version. That one's between 84 cents and $2, depending on how many you order. So you'd say if you order, 1,000 or more, you're probably going to get it closer around $1. And this is just something I know because I've done this several times over. Another one here, it's at $2.78. This one's at 77 to 81 cents. Again, when they say something high like this, it's usually because they're like minimum order of 10 pieces. When you buy 10 pieces, you're going to spend $2.78 or more. But if you buy 1,000, you might get it for $1. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I did put $1 on this sheet, and then my estimated freight cost, which I've just done from experience, I put 20 cents. It could be 50 cents. It could be whatever. But basically, it needs to have something. Now, the pick and pack fee, you can actually look this up. I'll pull it up, go to Google here real quick, and you're going to look up FBA fee calculator. So if I Google that and then click the top result, which is the FBA revenue calculator, and if I put in the top ASIN, so if I go in here and click on this one, there is what's called an ASIN number. It's this B00 whatever, all these characters here. If I take that and then put this in here, and I can search, of course it's going to say failed. Let's go see if it'll work here. Sometimes when it's doing screen share, it doesn't like to work, but we'll see. Now, it does say it on here as well, I believe, but it's probably going to say the FBA fee is quite high, $4.76, because I believe that actually includes the 15% of the price, which would be like $1 or so around here. But my guess is when I actually would look into this, and it's not giving it. Let me check another one. Let's go look at the second competitor here. We'll look at their listing and see if we can get this, because again, the revenue calculator usually works, but maybe it's because of screen share, it's just slowing it down. Yeah, it's not working. Suffice to say, it will work when you check, but it's probably going to be close to about 345 or so. So when you plug in those numbers, it's saying the profit margin is 29.63%. Now, it shows red on here only because it's less than 30%. I usually typically say you want to have at least 30%. Highly likely you even want it to be above 35%. So again, this is analyzing the product. And then saying your estimated 30-day revenue is about 16,000. Profit before ads is 5,000 roughly. That's when you're spending 3,200 in ads. So your profit per month after ads is $1,500, which isn't that bad. You want a product to give you about $1,000 to $2,000 every month in profit. Great. The problem here is whether or not you can actually afford it. It's saying your estimated cost over 3 months to launch this product would be about $25,000. So can you afford this product right now? No. How much more cash would you need to launch this product? About $15,000. So if your budget is at $10,000, do not launch this product right now. Maybe later when you get a product, a brand of products growing, and the brand can fulfill this and kind of spend the money itself, you can then use the product and launch this product under a brand that's making money every month. But probably when you first start, this wouldn't be an ideal product. Again, you might try to bring the fees down or the cost down, or even sell at a higher price. Who knows, to kind of bring those profits up. But you'd have to have a good product, right? You'd have to have a better version, or at least as good of a version as Fiskars, because they have 14,000 reviews. They've been doing this for a long time. So you need some sort of competitive advantage, and usually that comes at price or something like that. And whatever they're doing, you kind of need to beat them on something. So again, I wouldn't necessarily recommend launching this product, but had you not looked and used this particular spreadsheet, you wouldn't know that, because there's nothing on Amazon that tells you what the cost of competition is. And yes, the niche on AMZScout said it's really good, but it doesn't say, is it good for somebody who's only got $10,000? It's saying it's good overall because there's a lot of money to be made there, right? But if you only have a limited budget, you might not launch that product. So that's why it's really great to marry the AMZScout tools with spreadsheets like the ones that I've created to kind of help you understand, what's going to work and what's not going to work for your particular situation right now. So that's one of the things I wanted to show you there. Again, AI is telling you all this great stuff, but again, if you don't have the money to launch the product, don't jump into that business, right? Or that brand or that product. Next thing I want to show you. So now you've done the product research, you'll use that and you can just keep searching products between, the AMZScout tools and that Launchalyzer. You can fill that Launchalyzer out, hundreds of products and find, 5 or 10 that work within your budget. And you're gonna be like, great, now I've got 5 to 10 products that I can actually do. That's the product research part, right? Now what I want to do is actually prompt ChatGPT to create us a listing that will actually give us something good, or at least usable as a first draft, to see how good of a job it does to write this listing, right? I'm going to give it a prompt. And let's see, do I have my prompts ready? Yeah. So I have created a prompt here that says, create a title with a maximum of 120 characters, 5 bullet points, and a product description with a maximum of 2,000 characters for an Amazon product detail page for a garden shovel from the brand Home Improvement. Obviously, it's a fictitious brand, to highlight the best benefits of using a handheld gardening shovel. Make sure to use very relevant keywords to make it a high converting listing. I'm going to pop that in there and see what comes out. It'll take a few minutes, or like a minute. But basically, here's the suggested title: Home Improvement Garden Shovel Hand Trowel, Heavy Duty Stainless Steel Scoop, Ergonomic Non-Slip Grip. Great. Is that perfect? Maybe not, but it's a very, very good start. It's faster than I would write it off the top of my head, right? And it's saying 5 bullet points. Heavy duty digging power. Strong stainless steel blade cuts through tough soil, mulch, and roots for faster planting and transplanting. Precision scoop and control. Deep scoop shape moves soil cleanly. Ideal for bulbs, flowers, herbs, vegetables, and container gardens. Comfortable ergonomic grip. Non-slip handle. Reduces the hand fatigue and improves control for longer weeding, digging, and mixing sessions. Rust resistant and easy to clean. Durable metal resists corrosion. Rinse off after use for quick maintenance and long-lasting performance. Versatile hand trowel tool. Perfect handheld gardening shovel for digging, potting, edging, small areas, mixing fertilizer, and removing weeds. Now, one thing that AI does, and we'll talk about this, because we're actually going to critique this later, but AI just creates lists of words. They do this a lot. Digging, potting, edging, small areas, mixing fertilizer, remove. It's just like action, 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 action. List, 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 list. And it does it with commas. They do that a lot. Most people don't talk like that, right? Most people don't read like that. They don't just want lists of ideas. They want to be told how things are going to work for them. So we'll get back to this and we'll actually analyze this and kind of go over it a little bit later. But just so you know, this is kind of what it spits out, and it works really fast. This is faster than I would write, right? There's nobody here that would write that fast just off the top of their head. Hey, you know what? I've got 5 bullet points, a product description with 2,000 characters, and a title, all in 1 minute, right? So that's great. That's why I say the best part about it is the speed of data collection, processing, and summation. That's what it's just done there. Now what I can actually do is I can also do, and this would be actually the next slide, I believe. So it's created our listing, but it's also going to be able to create listing assets like our images. So I'm going to say this prompt. So now create a 7-image storyboard for this garden shovel based on the benefits from the bullet points and product description. So it's going to need a main image and then essentially 6 more images after that. Now you can say 9 images or however many you want, but it will actually create this storyboard. And you could even say like that I can give to a graphic designer, but it'll basically know that just by how it's worked out. So here's a 7-image storyboard for the home improvement garden shovel hand trowel built directly from your bullets. Description, and each image includes main headline, visual direction, and on-image callouts. So it actually even tells the graphic designer what text to put on the images. So that way the consumer knows what they're looking at. So the first one is their main image. So it's hero, clean, and premium. And the headline, you actually can't have a headline on your main image, but basically it can just be, the idea here is visual product. The visual is product on bright, clean background, white or light gardening tone, add subtle soil leaf accents, something like that. Image 2 is heavy duty digging power. That's the headline is cuts through soil with ease, or cuts through tough soil with ease. The visual is hand using trowel to dig into compact soil in a garden bed, roots visible. Callouts, strong stainless steel resist bending, breaks up compact soil and mulch, handles roots and dense dirt. Great. You can actually kind of almost visualize what this image looks like so a graphic designer can go make it. It even tells them what callouts to put on the images, right? Image 3 is the deep scoop equals faster planting. So the headline is deep scoop moves more soil in less time. The visual is slide angle showing soil filling the scoop, pouring it into a hole near a plant or bulb. So then it kind of goes through all that, right? So that's the 7 images. It's saying like, and if you want, I can also write the exact text overlays, short plus Amazon safe, size for 2000 by 2000 images, including font hierarchy and call out placements so a designer can build them fast. This is great. Like this is great instruction. AI is doing exactly what you want it to do. So now you've got the storyboard for your images, right? So this is the next thing that we would use it for. Great. You can take that exactly as is and just send that to a graphic designer. Obviously we would want to build out our listing perfectly first, make sure our bullet points are exactly the way we want, the product description, the title exactly the way we want. And then we would say that prompt, create the 7-image storyboard. But for speed right now, I'm just using the example it already gave us. The next thing you can do, and what I've already talked about, was that you can use it to help you find relevant keywords. Now, these might not be the ones that, people are searching on Amazon, but basically I'm going to try to prompt it with that information. Again, AMZScout has a tool that will actually help you do this. So this is not to replace it. It's just a way to get very quick information. And then we're going to go double check it over on AMZScout as well. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. So I just said, list out the 20 most relevant keywords from Amazon customers who are looking for a handheld garden shovel, which is also known as a trowel. It says looking for relevant Amazon keywords. It's thinking. I could also just hit answer now and it'd give me a quick answer. But it says here are the 20 high intent Amazon keyword phrases shoppers commonly use for a handheld shovel or handheld garden shovel or trowel. So garden trowel, hand trowel, garden hand trowel, hand shovel, gardening trowel, blah, 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 right? It's giving you straight up 20 keywords that you can use. And what you then say is, okay, I'm going to maybe copy this, put it onto a spreadsheet or a document. These are probably highly likely some of the keywords that I would use. They might not necessarily be the ones that I will use for my top, where I need to get to be to the top level, but these will be very relevant. So that way you can understand that you would use them in your ads. You would want to put them into your actual listing. So that way you can build a listing around things that people are obviously looking for. Now, what I wanted to show you with AMZScout is you can actually take the ASIN right here, the one that we already looked up, and you go to AMZScout's web app, and you can see under keywords and listings, and it says, where is it? Reverse ASIN Lookup 2.0. So you put the ASIN in here, hit enter, and it's going to find the keywords that are actually being used to find this product on Amazon. So gardening hand tools, garden trowel, garden planting, hand shovel for gardening, and so on and so forth, right? You can see garden shovel right here. You can see the keyword effectiveness. So that means it's very relevant. It'll even tell you the monthly search volume or estimated monthly search volume. So if you want to know what the most relevant ones are, they're the ones, or sorry, not the most relevant, but the highest searched ones are. They're the ones with the highest volume, and you can actually even search by that. For some reason, this one's saying garden TOOL, but with spaces is the most. I don't know why that would be. But then garden tool for garden, hand tool, garden tools, gardening tools, garden end tools, hand tools, so on and so forth, right? And you can see garden trowel, garden shovel, they're down here. Now, I'm not saying that this number here is exactly correct. Amazon actually has some stuff where you can look it up in their back end if you're a brand owner, which is another reason why I stress creating a brand. Highly helpful. But basically, it doesn't matter if it's exactly these numbers, just kind of gives you the hierarchy of which ones are the most searched, right? Seasonal impact, very high. Obviously, it's extreme seasonal impact. Peak search month is August. This one, for some reason, is December, but it's not related to garden, right? So that one might not be so relevant. But basically, again, between ChatGPT, Amazon, and even on AMZScout, you can get better research. The other thing you can do is you can even put in like garden shovel, for example, hit a space and I'll put garden shovel hand, garden shovel long handle, heavy duty, scoop, set, small, and you'll see other things that I can come up with. You can even just put garden and then you see hose, clearance deals, all this other stuff, right? So like you can put in shovel and see what it says for digging, shovel spoon, shovel for car, shovel handle. And you can get what's called the auto suggestions, right? So there are ways that you can actually get a lot of keyword research done just by, using the free tools or the tools available to you if you have AMZScout. Obviously ChatGPT, some of these things are paid, but there are tools that you can use to get this, sorted out. And if I put in like trowel, for example, trowel garden tool, garden trowel masonry, trowel concrete tool. So not only just for digging, but also for scooping cements, right? So that's something that a trowel can be used for. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to go back over to ChatGPT. I've got the keyword research. The last thing that you can use, AI for is to help you get a step-by-step guide on how to do things in Amazon, right? In your business. So the last one that I've prepared is basically creating a step-by-step on how to set up an Amazon shipment from a Chinese factory to Amazon FBA. It might not get this exactly right. I've never actually tried exactly this prompt before, but it's probably going to get close enough and you can kind of edit the details. As everything, it's a draft. You have to make sure it's correct first, right? So I'm just going to hit that. So here's a practical step-by-step workflow for getting a shipment from a Chinese factory to Amazon FBA with the least drama, it says. It's always got to have that personality in there. So confirm your FBA product is ready on paper. Get final specs, confirm materials, blah, blah, blah. Choose your shipping method and who's responsible. Hire a freight forwarder or use a 3PL that books freight. Create your FBA shipment plan before anything, in Seller Central, before anything leaves China. Generate and apply labels correctly. Schedule inspection. Seriously do it. Arrange shipping, factory, port, port, destination, customs clearance. Decide to deliver to FBA, blah, blah, blah. So it's telling you kind of the outline of what the steps you would need to actually do in order to set up a shipment. That's pretty great. This is something that you would absolutely want to do if you were running a business, right? So this is something that you would need. Like this is just an example of a thing that AI can do, right? So that's some of the best ways that I've seen to use AI for an Amazon brand and business before. And we'll get back to kind of, roasting this listing that it made earlier. And that's going to be something we talk about here in just a minute. But let me go. This doesn't replace keyword research with AMZScout or wherever else you get it, but you definitely want to do that keyword research. Again, we already did the step-by-step guide. So these are great things. So you can see how AI can be good for your business, right? Have you guys ever seen anything like that? And just kind of, it was maybe 20 minutes we spent using AI to just run over how to kind of improve your business or run an Amazon business or get ideas of how to improve it. Have you guys all seen things like that before? Or are you kind of using that in your business right now? Or, personally using it for yourself at this point? Because I also want to not just talk about like how you're using it, but how to be aware that, you have to make sure that these things are not 100% accurate all the time, right? So let's talk about how it can be also bad if we're not careful. So that's the next thing, creating, looking at the bad, how AI quietly causes sellers to lose money. AI isn't a fact-based informational gathering source by design. We already talked about this. It can't discern truth from published lies or protected work from public domain. So you may have seen that AI's, a lot of AI companies are getting in trouble for using protected work, intellectual property from creators, right? So they don't know what's different between protected work or public domain, and it's pulling just straight from the internet. All right, so here are 6 ways AI hurts Amazon brands. First, it has generic copy or generic copywriting. That equals lower conversions. So if you just used AI, you might get pretty low conversions because it's just giving you generic, kind of layman's terms. Here's some words that basically we've seen on the internet. And AI tends to write, quote unquote, everyone's listing. They often use buzzwords, repeat benefits, focuses on features, and ignores ways for you to stand out. Because it's not looking to stand out. It's looking just to exist, right? It's called confident nonsense. And what's even funnier is AI actually wrote this little piece for me. I edited it and stuff, but it gave me the outline for the 6 ways AI actually hurts Amazon brands. It even came up with this its own self. It knows it gives what's called confident nonsense. Basically, it says wrong feature claims, wrong material, wrong compatibility, etc. It doesn't know your product. You haven't shown it. It doesn't know. It can't feel it. It doesn't know what materials it is. You'd have to give it all of that information, right? And again, sounds right isn't the same as right. This can also lead to policy violations, bad reviews, or even lawsuits if you're making false claims. So don't just take it, don't take Amazon or AI's word for the best thing to use for your Amazon listing. You have to fact check it, right? It can also use bad keywords and give you fake SEO confidence. AI is an amalgamation of data, old and new, but isn't focused on current data affecting you now, right? Like it's not saying this is the most relevant right now. Maybe 100 years ago, or, the internet's not been around that long, but let's say, the beginning of the internet, certain things existed where it was talking about this for this product, but now it's this, like the technology. If you talked about a cellular phone, for example, it can pull data about the first cellular phone or the most recent one, and it doesn't discern the difference necessarily. Does that make sense? There's such a huge gap in knowledge in the last 20 years that there's so many things that it can get wrong, not just based on incorrect information, but because of historical out-of-date information, right? So it may suggest outdated or irrelevant keywords or information that isn't related to customer demands. You have to be careful with that. Again, it can also have policy and compliance landmines. AI loves to make claims or overstate the expectations of the product. This can land you in hot water with Amazon's terms of service or even the law. Like you don't want to go to jail for AI writing your listing because you didn't check it, right? That would be a very bad thing. It's also what I call a race to mediocrity. If everyone uses AI the same way, everyone's listings have the same structure, the same phrasing, and the same angles. Nothing stands out, which allows the current top sellers to keep dominating. Fiskars and that Craft 911 will keep being top sellers if no one creates better versions of the listing. If all you do is create generic listings, you're going to keep being in the middle of that pack, right? You're not going to be at the top. You're not going to even get close. People have no reason to buy from you because you're not beating the top competitors at anything. And that's why we say you have to have the best version of something, not just the fastest version of something. And again, like I said, intellectual property risk. AI copies intellectual property from images to text to anything it can get its hands on. It's virtual hands on. So you need to know if the words or images you are using are stolen so you don't get into legal trouble. Obviously, it's probably not going to have word for word a copy of somebody else's information, but there might be a phrase in there or a name in there that absolutely is branded and copyrighted or, what do you call it, trademarked. Like Home Improvement, right? That was from a TV show back in the 90s. I used that as the name for this brand. I probably could not use that brand name, but AI doesn't know that. It's not saying, hey, be careful, Home Improvement's a trademark of some company. You can't use that. It's just creating it based on what I told it. So if I just ran with the name Home Improvement, it probably isn't going to work. Now you could ask AI to fact check and see if it's trademarked or anything like that and see if it gives you some insights. It can be used for that as well. There's like I said, there's no limit on what you can use AI for to do quick searches. There's also a trademark search on the USPTO website that you can do as well. So how do we protect ourselves from AI and still use it without getting into trouble? Well, let's talk about the fix. Let's make AI safe plus profitable. So you got to create a quick system to make sure you monitor and update what AI spits out. So here's what I call prompt, proof, publish. You prompt AI with specifics, very specific things, your materials, all that stuff, right? About your products and business so it doesn't confuse you with other brands' claims. So talk about the benefits that you want to focus on. Talk about your product's exact specifications. Use customer language either from your reviews or from ones that you've seen, or just maybe you've polled some people and say, this is what they say about it. and any differentiators that you created that isn't out there on the market, or the things that you want to kind of focus on between your brand and others, and make sure to tell it, do not say this, do not have these claims, right? On a garden shovel, you might say, don't claim it can be used as a self-defense weapon or whatever, right? You obviously don't want it to be making wild claims of, digging through concrete or, anything like that. It can't be used for these things. Give it that information. If it spits something out, and you can see, we'll go over that listing here in a second. We'll see for ourselves if it's spit out anything kind of very odd. Again, home improvement probably being a trademark brand name, like it's not even telling me that I shouldn't use that. But we'll talk about that more in a second. But we need a proof. Basically, we need to prompt it and then give it the best prompts we possibly can. And then we need to proofread it, right? Proofread the information and fix anything that isn't right. Does your product do everything that's stated? If not, edit that part, right? Is there evidence, or have you tested this, right? Is there something in there that does make a claim and you know that it does that because you've actually tested it, or you have evidence that it does this? Are you within Amazon's policies? Does it pass a common sense check? Is there anything in there, like, for sure, like if you're selling, something like a medical device or vitamins or supplements, you can't say that these things cure or basically make any sort of medical claims. Improves, you can say, but you can't say cures. So if it's making claims like cures heart disease, like absolutely you can't say that. That product listing will be removed from Amazon. So you have to make sure that you're actually looking at these things, right? If anything seems like it might be ripped from someone else's intellectual property, see if you can look it up. If it seems very odd, or like maybe a very, very, quotable thing or something, and you're like, hey, I've heard that before. Like maybe I should look into that, right? And then look it up. See if that's been used by another listing, another brand. Those buzzwords and marketing keywords sometimes tend to get recycled a lot. And if somebody's actually trademarked something like whirlwind or, whatever, like there's a particular phrase in there that you can't use, make sure you know that. And then obviously you want to publish and monitor the results. So track your metrics to see if there are any areas that can be improved. If your listing is not converting right, maybe it does need to be refreshed and updated. See if you can get any customer feedback about the things mentioned in your listing as well. You'll get this through reviews pretty quickly. Good, bad, or otherwise. Hey, it doesn't do this thing that it says. Hey, it said it had this, but it didn't come with that. Like maybe it said it came in a box or, a sleeve, or has a sheath or whatever, and it doesn't. Okay, well, I need to take that out of listing, or I need to include that, which would then increase my price. You need to make sure that you're actually following, what it says. Don't advertise something that's not there. Does that make sense to everybody? Are you seeing how, AI is very useful, but also needs to be kind of tested within its own boundaries? This should give you a reasonable amount of safety, but it's not a guarantee that you're 100% compliant. It doesn't mean that just because you do a common sense check that you're 100% compliant. You do need to check things if anything seems off. If you're ever in doubt, you can consult a legal expert. That is not me. I've never really had to use a legal expert for anything. I don't use AI to write my copy word for word. I go in and type out basically based on what it says. I kind of rechange some things and then go from there. So now let's actually do this listing roast. I want you guys to kind of look at this. I'm going to share my screen to kind of look at these, the title, bullet points, the product description. If you're somebody who gardens, are these the things you're looking for? Just take a look real quick, and I'll give you 1 second to look it over. You guys see anything on here that seems like maybe it should be mentioned, or like it's not highlighted? So what I like to look at when I look at the listing that AI spits out is usually I like to put and Amazon will say you need to put your brand up first. I usually don't. I usually put the main keywords. So garden shovel, hand trowel. I would actually put that first. Now, again, it's just following Amazon's guidelines and putting the product or the brand up first. That's fine. I personally don't do that because I want the first thing that it shows to be the main keywords. So that way, when a customer looks, they'll see that it's the main keywords. The brand's only important because you want to be authoritative. But if you look over here on this, let's see, on this page here, scroll down, you can see right here, garden shovel, garden hand trowel. This second product, this one that's selling, thousands of units per month, it doesn't have the name first, the brand first, right? And when you actually click in here, it will tell you the brand. It says right here, Meacher or Metcheer, whatever it is. So it already tells you the brand when you go in there. So I don't really say that you should have the brand there. You don't need it. Amazon may actually put it in there for you, but I'm just saying like that's something that you have to have. So I would probably have this stuff in here. So garden shovel, hand trowel, but I would also probably mention digging. So garden shovel for digging, hand trowel, or something, right? Like I would say like it's for digging, obviously plants or whatever, flowers, potted plants, indoor, outdoor. I'd probably have something like that in here. I'd just add those and just remove this brand. So I'd have a little bit more relevant information in there about what the product actually does. Probably similar to what this says. So garden shovel, garden hand trowel, heavy duty hand shovel with ergonomic handle, small gardening tools for digging. It's pretty important that you say that it's for digging. Rust resistant. Now this one's kind of like bunched up and kind of just listing things out. It's better to write it as if it was like a sentence or like it kind of flows naturally in language. So garden shovel for digging, small hand trowel used for indoor, outdoor, potted plants, flowers, something like that. You could say ergonomic grip or whatever else you want to put in there, but make it flow like natural language. So it's not just keyword, 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 right? Make it more natural sounding, like as if you were telling somebody what it was. Then on the bullet points, I'd probably say, that a lot of the times what it actually says within the explanation is actually stronger than what it's saying up front. So it's saying heavy duty digging power. That's pretty good. But I actually really like this part better. Cuts through tough soil. That's what you want to hear. Cuts through tough soil easily, right? It cuts through tough soil easily. And then maybe, heavy duty digging power, it's kind of like a buzz phrase. Like it might even be something that a big brand might say, but I would say like the thing that you want is that this cuts through tough soil. Maybe it's because it's got a double back stainless steel blade, whatever, that you can say like it's a certain material or whatever that gives it that, that advantage. Precision scoop and control. I think again, scoop shape moves soil cleanly. So, or even deep scoop shape, right? Like whatever you want to say, but like it moves soil cleanly because it's not spilling over the side, right? So no messy, spills, something like that. That's the benefit. These are kind of just, again, buzz phrases. It doesn't really say what it's trying to say. It's almost getting to the benefit. The benefit is because it's got a deep scoop, and hopefully yours does. Otherwise, why are you saying it? But if it does have a deep scoop, then it won't, slosh around and have the soil go everywhere. Comfortable ergonomic grip. Again, reduces handle fatigue and improves control is probably the actual benefit. This is a feature. The feature is that it's an ergonomic grip. The benefit is that it reduces hand fatigue and improves control, right? So you could even say the benefit is here, longer digging and weeding sessions or whatever you want to say. So like garden longer with less fatigue because the handle is obviously, ergonomic. So the benefit is that you can have less fatigue and do things longer, doing your passion longer. So this is the kind of stuff that you would actually go, kind of step by step and just roast these things and say, are these really the benefits? Is this really what I'm trying to convey? No, but it actually does give most of this stuff like durable metal resist corrosion. Okay. I do think easy to clean is a good benefit, but like a simple rinse, like rust resistant, easy to clean, that's kind of like, yeah, it's saying what it is, but you could also say, the stainless steel resists corrosion and rinses easily, something like that. Versatile hand trowel tool. This is actually the most common thing that I see. Something says like versatile, multifunctional. It's just nonsense. It's basically not telling you anything. So what does it actually do? Okay, so digging, potting, edging, all this stuff, right? But again, this could be used for concrete pouring and, masonry work too, like whatever. But you could say like, great for all gardening needs. You could say that, right? Like, or great for all indoor gardening or whatever you want to say. Great for indoor and outdoor gardening. That's what you're really trying to say. It's not perfect for everything. It's not, not everything, but it says, perfect handheld garden shovel. Great. Just say that or say what it's actually, used for. So you guys kind of see here that AI may not be giving you the highest conversion, possible. It's just giving you the fastest things that it can spit out. So that's when I say, you got to have this prompt, proof, publish. Go back over and try to really dig in and say, what is it trying to actually say here? What does heavy duty digging power mean? It's not a crane, and it's not a backhoe, and it's not like a giant shovel. What is it actually trying to say, right? Like cuts through tough soil. That's great. Like that's what I want it to do. So these are the kinds of things that I do every time I go through, and you can do that for the title, bullet points, and product description, and just try to improve it, get it to as best as you can, and then you actually put it in your listing. A whole bunch of cool stuff that was created very quickly, but is it actually any good? So that's what we're doing here. This is the critique. Now we talk about your action plan. So guys, this is where you can actually see how AI can be used to your advantage, but just don't rely on it to be the best thing for your business. Actually use it. Make sure that you're using it wisely and not trying to inflate or conflate or confuse or complicate or anything like that, right? Use it the way that it's intended, which is to help you get things done faster, but then proof it, right? This is your first draft. Make sure it's better. So you guys see how you can actually use this in your business and see how you could actually create an Amazon business much quicker than I could back in 2013 and 2014. Like products took a very long time to research. We didn't have tools. We didn't have AI. We didn't have spreadsheets. We just had to find products and then go out and then try to launch them. So with what we covered so far, you should be able to use AI to help you in your business. I would think by now you're starting to see hey, AI is looking pretty good. Not perfect, but it's still pretty good. It can help me a lot faster than I can help myself most of the time, right? All right. But I do know that getting this information is only part of the journey. And again, remember I talked about, we could always work together to get, kind of overcome these obstacles. You are going to have other obstacles to overcome. Just using AI, just, using spreadsheets, just using tools, just using information isn't really building experience. It's not getting over hurdles, right? So here will be some challenges to your success, even after having all these great pieces of information, all these tools, all these spreadsheets, everything. You're still going to be afraid to make mistakes or choose the wrong product. It's human nature. You will always second guess even the most accurate or best forecast, right? You can plan everything out, but you still second guess it because you're fearful because you haven't done it before. You don't know what actions to take basically each day and each week to hit your goals. So now that you've started the first part, what do you do next? How do you actually hit a goal? What is your goal? How do you plan that out? How do you reverse engineer your goal? That's stuff that we can't really understand unless we know how to work through that, with kind of help. You actually will probably lose your motivation because you don't know if you're doing things right. This is one of the most common things I see when I talk to people who are like, yeah, I need help in my Amazon business. They're like, I actually don't know what I should be doing. I don't know if I'm doing things right. I kind of got lucky with my first product, or I did a product and it didn't really work out because I didn't really know what I was doing. They just kind of launch things. And it's like, why would you start a business where you're just kind of guessing at what you're doing? I would never recommend anybody to do that. And again, your lack of experience creates doubt and confusion. You also don't have enough time in the day to do everything you need to do, or at least you don't think you do because you don't know how long each thing takes. And maybe when you're first starting, things take 5 times longer than they should once you're actually getting up and going and after you've done it a couple of times. You're also probably overwhelmed by the new skills and new tasks you have to acquire and accomplish in order to make this business successful. You will need to learn how to do new things. If you don't want to learn how to do new things, then you probably shouldn't start your own business. That's pretty clear. If you don't want to change anything or learn anything or do anything different, don't start your own business. Keep doing what you're doing. Have a job that will keep you satisfied pretty much daily. Then there's going to be so many other challenges as well. But there is one way that you can fix all of these issues. Does anybody have any idea the one way that you can fix all of these issues, all those challenges to success? So make mistakes, don't know what to do, all that stuff. The experience, lack of experience creates out. How do you actually fix all of those issues? Any ideas? It's simple. Get help. This is actually something that even I needed reminding of. It came in the form of a children's book called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Maybe you guys have read this. I'm not sure, but if not, don't worry. It's not imperative that you actually know what's going on in the story. It's very simple. A boy is lost looking for his home and meets a few talking animals on his journey. The boy, the fox, the mole, and the horse, right? At one point, he asks the horse, "What's the bravest thing you ever said?" The horse replies, help. And then he says, asking for help isn't giving up. It's refusing to give up. So if you're struggling to make the Amazon business work for you or even get it started and you really, really, really want to do it and you want to make sure that you actually have the right ways to do it, ask for help. It's you showing the rest of the world that you refuse to give up on making your business work. You're showing the world that you refuse to give up on making your business work. It's also you showing yourself that you refuse to give up on making your business work. And it's you taking action to make your business work. Those are three huge things. You're proving everybody else wrong, you're proving yourself right, and you're taking action to make it happen. And if this sounds like the position you're in, I want to help. How do I know I can help? Well, again, this is me. I've been selling on Amazon since 2013, sold over 12 million in sales, 3 separate 7-figure Amazon training programs, worked with thousands of sellers, and I've been self-employed since 2015, doing this essentially this career or job or whatever you want to call it, every day of my life for the last 11 years, full time, right? So this is what I do. In order to help you, I need you to help yourself as well, though. The real question is, who are you? Do you want to keep looking for the next magic bullet that will make your business successful? A magic bullet being some whiz-bang tool out there or some person who says they're going to do it for you. Usually probably not going to do it that well. Or will you finally admit that you may need some help and reach out? Will you finally take the action to get the results that you want? Warren Buffett probably said it the best. The most important investment you can make is in yourself. You need help. You need to learn how to do these things right. Mentorship has been around for thousands of years. I think Socrates was probably the first mentor that I can think of. Obviously, things didn't turn out great for him, but he was a mentor to, Grecians. At the time, they were Athenians, I believe, or wherever he's from, Athens, I believe. And essentially, he was telling people, here's what you do. Here's how to be a better person. Here's how to learn. Here's how to do all that stuff, right? Teaching and mentorship kind of go hand in hand. Mentorship and coaching, which is what I do, takes you from where you are and tries to take you to where you want to go. Teaching is just, here's some information, do with it what you want. The difference is, I want to help you by coaching you to get to where you want to be. So here's what a few recent clients have said about working together. First, Monique said, we started another program which was very expensive and did not allow us to figure out what the total investment would look like. Again, remember the Launchalyzer tool that I showed you? You can actually see how much it's going to cost you within the first 3 months to actually launch a product. And she said, we didn't know that before. So now that we got the full view of the cost associated with launching a product on Amazon, basically they know that they shouldn't launch the product that they were going to launch so that they don't go into this gigantic hole. I think the product they were going to launch was like $165,000 cost. Had no idea. They were about to launch it and they were like, well, we're glad that we didn't. We just kind of dodged that bullet. Juliana said, I'd already spent a lot of money on training and wasn't getting anywhere, but you convinced me that this business was worth it. I'm very happy I made that decision and hope to have a product launch soon. Leslie said the PAB, which was actually the Launchalyzer, the keyword research, how to think about keywords and how users search on Amazon has been a big aha moment for me. Gina said, you shared great information in a very generous manner. You're easy to listen to, extremely knowledgeable and friendly, and gave us the opportunities to ask questions. Pro AI extension, that's the thing that we looked at, tells you pretty much everything you need to know in order to analyze the niche. Then when you partner it with the Launchalyzer, it helps you basically tell you if you can afford that thing yourself on your current budget. You have access to the AI stuff that we talked about. So the SWOT analysis, the what do they call it, innovations and all that stuff, and all the market tips and everything that basically we kind of went over. So product improvement tips and all that stuff, right? And then it's also got the niche analysis. So it's giving you the niche scores. You can take them, don't use them 100% literally, but it's just use them as kind of a hierarchy. Like, this one's probably better than, whatever other product you might be looking at because the score is higher. So use it kind of as like a hierarchy, but not necessarily like, hey, it's a 9, meaning you should absolutely do it. If you can't afford it, you can't do it, right? At least not now. But maybe later when your business is doing that, then that opportunity score shows a 9, you can go for that product because it fits your budget now, right? So that's the kind of things you got to kind of put together and marry them up. Again, product database, which helps you find products, at least get an idea of what products you're looking for, and gives you like lists, and then you can plug them into the Launchalyzer, start searching them up, and then start analyzing the costs of how much they'll actually cost you. And again, like I said, you can put in your keyword research. So you put in a word like garden shovel or towel in this case, and it'll tell you all the other keywords related to that keyword. The reverse ASIN lookup, which we already did as an example. Keyword tracker. So this is actually going to track your organic ranking. You're on page 1, you're number 34, or you're on page 2, you're number 65. And it's going to tell you like what, each day, what the ranking for your organic ranking for those keywords are. Very helpful because you need to know that because it affects your sales drastically if you're losing ranking.